Hi volleyballs, so finally after months of waiting, we finally have a new Moon Girl episode to talk about. Now before we begin, I must warn the footage in this video might look a bit off because for some reason the episode has this time code baked in, and a property of Disney TVA thing in the middle, and I watched it off of YouTube and it made the news on multiple websites. But besides that, this will be a pretty normal video. Now I know it's unusual for me to upload in November, and at all, but I was planning to make a Moon Girl video this month, just not about this. See, Lunella has been popping up all over the place lately, from LEGO specials to Spidey and His Amazing Friends, so I was going to talk about those, jokingly overanalyze a preschool series, and have a great time. And all things considered, I might still do that. But on November 14th, I was scrolling through Twitter, mindless as can be, just to find a post that will haunt me for the rest of my life. According to crew members of the show, an episode of Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur will not make it to air due to the current political climate in the United States. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Okay, let's try and stay calm here and think about this rationally. Disney banning any episode of the show after already wrapping it up too soon only means that it's on site for me, man. If I catch any Disney executive in the streets, I'm using physical force. Don't mess with me. Okay, but then again... Looking at the posts mentioned, details became more apparent. The episode was reportedly banned after, and I'm not kidding on this part, Donald Trump won the recent US election, and the episode would follow the character of Brooklyn. Now what can we learn from that? Well, that first part is a bit conflicting, as other crew members supposedly knew for months, as the episode was part of Season 2A. There's been an episode missing for 9 months? Guessing by the conflicting reports here, it sounds like Disney barred the episode from airing earlier this year, but told the crew as comfort, don't worry, if Kamala wins, we'll air it. If Trump wins, we won't. AKA the most depressing coin flip of all time. It just sounds like a confusing mess as to why it's not being released. That will only get more confusing soon enough, don't worry. But if Trump is really the reason this episode got banned, it's on Okay, so apparently I can't say that last one without making cable news. So what about that second poll? What about Brooklyn? Brooklyn, voiced by India Moore, is Lunella's classmate and a member of the school's volleyball team. Her most prominent appearance so far was in Goodnight Moon Girl, where she invites Lunella and Casey to a sleepover, just for Lunella to accidentally switch minds with Devil. Hijinks ensue. I'm sure all of you have seen it, unless if you only watched the show on Disney Channel because for some reason it's in a legal limbo and only has aired there once or twice. How ironic, haha. That's not her only appearance though, as she appears throughout many episodes in the background or for a line or two, spouting this headband, striped shirt, and water bottle with a trans sticker. Ding ding ding! There we have it, people! Yeah, she's trans. Her actress is trans. Never explicitly said in the show itself, but about as conformed as a character can be without just saying it out loud. So that combined with the episode being banned felt like a major red flag on Disney's part. But hey, it's impossible to know without the episode being available to watch. All we could do now is hope somehow, in some way, the episode gets released. Would you believe it leaked the very next morning? Never saved a video faster in my life, man. 10 minutes after I got it on my phone, it was gone. But now I can talk about it. Normally, I don't like talking about leaks, but in the case of an episode that will never release, I feel like it's a safe thing to do. So, to make this feel as normal as possible, Episode 15, The Gatekeeper, or technically Episode 6. Yeah, this comes before Wish-Tall and pushes every episode back one. So to describe this in more detail than I normally would, the Gatekeeper follows Brooklyn's team. The school is about to take on the Lady Leopards in the Volleyball Regional Championships. Lunella is a hydration engineer, Casey's putting on the halftime show, they're all eating orange slices. It's all good fun until the rival team's coach, Coach Grill, played by guest star Amy Sedaris, overhears Brooklyn talk.
Having to play on the boys' team.
Oh, don't worry, this is the most subtle this episode gets. Well, Coach Wilbeck already knows and also doesn't care, placing him a tier higher on my character tier list for this moment alone. After he's injured, Brooklyn is placed in charge of the team and must face Greer's complaints head on, and she handles it pretty well. Until Greer commits what I can only assume is a crime by locking Lunella and the team in the locker room using a magical key. Hey, they wouldn't just forget this is a superhero show. From then on, it's an escape room for the team, as Casey must distract the crowd and referees long enough not to just give the game to the Leopards. Now for the poll I'm sure all of you clicked on the video to ask about, this is officially a Moon Girl episode with not a single minute of Moon Girl. The name doesn't even come up once. Of course, some characters from that side of the story show up, including Devil to sing the school fight song, putting on the performance of a lifetime, and so does the Beyonder, first appearance in a while, setting up that yard sale that's consistently mentioned throughout the rest of the season, because yes, this would be his first appearance, go figure, but besides that, no superhero nonsense, just a magical key and magic escape room, which... Yeah, this is an escape room episode. The characters have to solve clues, find keys, not die, because apparently Miss Insane over here is that crazy that the room is also a death trap, and make their way out. Overall, for the first two swords, I thought it was a fine episode. A few fun gags involving the crowd raiding, Devil's performance, a fun song attached to a montage, a focus on some of the characters that don't normally get highlights. It's all normal stuff. Until that sword act stabbed my heart out, man. Spoiler alert in case you want to check it out for yourself, but after collecting all the keys and making the way out, the team finds themselves in the same escape room again, forced to find the same keys, because as Grio's menacing hologram said,
"To get out, you must follow."
And Brooklyn being trans breaks rules. In more ways than one. Yeah, outside of Grio only referring to her as a
Former boy son.
When Death Trap considered, she would be saying some absolutely insane things to her face. This episode is not subtle about Brooklyn's identity at all. It is stated out loud, it's the whole setup for the plot, it's pretty obvious. However, up to this point here, she tries to act unbothered about Grio's comments at all. When Lunella offers to serve as coach, Brooklyn takes the job herself. When Grio goes to talk to her, the team offers to join her, but she goes alone. And during the whole escape room process, she's the one grabbing and sorting every key. So this moment here, when she finally breaks down, when she finally lets out all the pain she's been feeling, hits deep, especially due to India Moore's incredible delivery in this scene, and from the fact that, once again, the dialogue here does not shy away from the meaning even for a second. But in classic Moon Girl fashion, it all comes down to community, and with the help of her team, Brooklyn comes to realize that if you can't unlock a door or follow every rule, the easiest way is to break them. So following a mixtape moment with a retro style, not so subtle color choices, and a Charlie XCX song, what is this show's budget, they make it out, tell Grio off and kick her out of the game. Should've beat her up like every other supervillain, I don't care, and everything ends on a happy note. So y'all think they banned it because they hate volleyball? This episode rules, man. Not only is it Moon Girl, which means it automatically rules, but it does that classic thing of taking a relatively everyday problem, puts it in a fantastical setting, but never shies away from the most serious discussion being represented here. This is an episode very explicitly about trans kids in sports, very specifically about trans girls in sports. It has been a very heated discussion in recent times. The news is talking about it, politicians are talking about it, weirdos on the internet are talking about it, and now you can add SpongeLiam to that list. Yep, time to get political. No, I'm not here to tell you what to think. To be honest, I think this episode makes a very strong case by taking what in the simplest terms is the who cares approach. Grio tries everything in her power, and even past it, to make sure everyone is following the rules when everyone else, down to her very own daughter, just wants to play a game. It's middle school volleyball, not the damn Olympics. It's like the saying goes, it's not about winning, it's about playing volleyball. This very trans-positive message is accelerated by many of Moon Girl's staples. The aforementioned mixtape moment here features a song co-written by Kim Petras, a trans woman, and features some of the most inclusive visuals possible, including the very iconic trans femme volleyball and a pride flag impact frame. That is the funniest thing and also the coolest thing I have ever seen. I don't know who came up with that, but you all win. You win. Good job. In another life, Disney would use this episode as part of a pride campaign every June that would get called disingenuous. Instead, it's unaired and was set to live in a vault for the rest of time if it wasn't for the studio having the worst password protection of all time. But, to be fair, according to Disney themselves, this isn't because the character is trans, because the character was in other episodes. And it's just being held for now. So what is it then? If it's because it's a trans sports story, that still comes down to the character being trans. If it's because the trans character is getting a spotlight instead of the traditional leads, that's still due to the character being trans. If it's because the Charlie song is too expensive, why did you approve it in the first place? Same goes for all these reasons, to be honest. And to add salt into a wound, they added that Disney is respectful of the role that parents play in the discussions they have with their children. Okay, let's get into this, huh? The implications of this sentence is that the episode was held to allow parents to explain these concepts to those children themselves. The thing is though, the only parents who would get mad at seeing this on those screens are the same kind who would ultimately choose to shelter their kids from seeing these kind of stories. They won't teach them, and if they do, it will be from a hateful perspective. Episodes like this are important for sharing that perspective with those who wouldn't get it. Moon Girl in general is important for sharing different pieces of culture that not every person might experience or hear about in their day-to-day lives. To not only get rid of that, but the show in general is frustrating. This news kind of ruined me. To learn that the studio that once guaranteed every show they produced 2 seasons at minimum has fallen to practices like early secret cancellations, deleting shows if they're not successful enough, judging that success on 5-episode drops, leaving crews in renewal limbo for months, and now banning specific episodes they don't agree with. It's a lot. For a few years there, Disney TVA felt like they were dominating online fandoms, producing hit after hit, willing to go darker and more serious when a story needed it. But now none of that is true anymore. They've fallen from grace. And know what? A lot of things have recently. Sometimes it feels like scrolling online, it's bad news after bad news. Like life itself is an uncontrollable mess. But I'm tired of living in this mess and dwelling on the bad. For the minute I have left here, I want to point out the bright side of this story that I think most people are missing. This episode exists. If we got word that a writer pitched a story that never went through, it would be disappointing, sure, but at no point surprising. It's on a hotly divisive topic, and Disney has received countless criticism for their fake activism, and this should just be another case of the true colors showing. But the thing is, I watched it. You just watched a review for it. This episode not only was pitched, written, and storyboarded, but also animated, composed, voice acted, edited. Knowing the studio in question, it went through 1,000 SMP checks. But it's still here. 90% done. If for some reason, by some miracle, Disney changed their minds and wanted to release it tomorrow, they practically could. This all happened within a studio environment and was practically approved by all parties involved until one powerful voice said no. And you know what? That voice is weird. That voice is wrong. And that voice is a real joke actually. Hours of work went into this. It's possible to tell these stories in a way that younger audiences understand. It's possible to get these moments approved by nearly a whole studio of people because there are good people out there. There are talented people out there fighting for moments like this to happen. And in the case they get locked behind the door, they can always find a way to break out and still be heard by those who care to listen and watch them. Anyways, goofy preschool show next time. Hong Kong, yay! Happy times!